Hey guys, this is Yovan, and today I wanted to answer some key questions that people ask when they're thinking about starting a high-ticket sales agency. So specifically today, I'm going to go over three things. How much can you make with this business model? How difficult or easy is it, like being extremely realistic, and is it worth the risk? Okay, so these are the three questions I'm going to answer today. So let's jump straight into things. So first of all, how much can you make running a sales agency? So I'd like to say that this video is in no way, shape, or form promising or guaranteeing that you will make any money with absolutely anything. So financial disclaimer, legal disclaimer. What this video will do is create some projections based on just math. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So the first thing I want to do is look at what's the difference between a closer and a sales agency. And I want to start with the responsibilities, okay? Because if we understand the responsibilities of each, then we can understand how much can you make and how much money can you actually charge your clients, okay? Because what happens is when I tell people you can charge clients up to 35% commission, if you position yourself as a sales agency, the first thing they say is, well, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why would any business pay 30, 35% when they could just pay a closer 10%? Like, how does that even make sense? So by looking at the responsibilities, that's how we can start to make sense of things and get an idea of how much we can actually make. So as a closer, the standard industry rate is 10% commission. And typically what ends up happening is average closers will make about $5,000 to $10,000 per month. Great closers will make around $15,000 to $20,000 per month. There's a very small, extremely small percentage of closers that will make over $20,000 a month. But from what I've seen, it's never actually consistent. So if you average it out over a year, it's actually going to be between that 10 to 20K mark. So typically you're getting 10%, and most closers will close anywhere from, like I said, $50,000 to $200,000. And 10% of that is going to mean you're making between $5,000 a month to $20,000 a month if you're a great closer. I also want to mention there's a lot of great closers who unfortunately are stuck on offers where they actually don't even have the potential to make $20,000 per month. So even if you're a great closer, if you're in the wrong offer and the wrong vehicle, that's going to impact how much you can actually make. Okay, so this is typically what a closer makes. And then if we look at the responsibilities, closers are expected, and I know I said we would start with responsibilities first. I guess I jumped the gun a little bit. Closers are expected to do the following. Take 6 to 8 calls per day, right? Because we're talking about inbound scheduled calls. So a closer is going to show up on Zoom or Google Meet 6 to 8 times per day. Each call is going to be roughly an hour long. And other than that, the other responsibilities are to, of course, follow up with your leads so you can actually close the deals. And in 2025, these are really the main responsibilities of closers. These are really the expectations. In the past, it used to be that you would also be expected to call other leads in your free time, which I still think is a great idea if you want to make even more money, right? Like if you have a no-show, you can call leads in the meantime. But really, all you're doing as a closer is you're just showing up to work every day, you're doing your thing, and you're clocking out, right? And so for that, you are rewarded 10%, which means that 90% of the revenue that you are closing is going somewhere else, right? It's going to the business owner, it's going in their pockets. They're keeping a huge chunk of that as profit. They're also paying, of course, their other expenses from that 90%. Okay. But at the end of the day, that business owner is obviously making way more than that 10% that they're paying you. Okay, so that's the life of closer and kind of the responsibilities. Now, as a sales agency, things start to look very different. Okay, so a sales agency can charge between 20% commission on the low end. Personally, at PhoneSales.com, our high ticket sales agency, we've never worked with a client less than 20%, and we've done deals all the way up to 35% commission. Okay. Now, 20 to 35% commission of what though? Okay, so this is not of just like one person doing sales. This is of every single salesperson that we bring on to that offer, that we bring on to that client, right? So what happens is a lot of times, like a sales team will have like 5 people in it, right? It's not just like one person. A sales team usually at bare minimum has 3 people. Some sales teams have 5, 10. We've had clients where we've had 20 closers just on their offer, right? So as a sales agency, you are making 20 to 35% of every deal done by every closer. So if you have 10 closers, you're making 20% to 35% on every single one of their deals. And then you're paying them from that, right? So what happens is for us, like we've taken offers up to like $2.5 million a month, for example, like just one client, right? So for us, we were getting in that case 20%. Okay. So even if we just for simple math say we took an offer to $2 million a month, which isn't a lot, that's like, for example, having 5 closers, or sorry, that's like having like 10 closers, for example, closing $200,000 each, right? And when you get into higher ticket offers like $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 offers, which is what we like to do, it starts even to become even easier to get to those sorts of numbers because you only need like 30, 40 sales per month to get to like $2 million a month. Versus if you're slinging like $5,000 coaching programs, you need to sell like, well, I think like 300 or 400 if I did the math right. So that's the difference, right? But anyways, you're getting 20 to 35%. Let's just say on an offer that does $1 million per month. So let's just keep things like super simple math here. 20 to 35% of $1 million. Okay. And in this case, I'm going to use 25% commission because that's usually the average that we charge clients. So 25% of $1 million is you're gonna get $250,000. Okay, and I'm gonna put R here because this is revenue. Okay, so I'm talking revenue here. This is not your profit. You still have things you got to pay. Okay, but this is your revenue. Now from there, your expenses are gonna be primarily your sales team. Okay, this is gonna be by far your biggest expense. It's really the only expense. I mean, there's obviously some software costs and stuff like that, but really it's your sales team. So your sales team, your closers, you're going to pay them 10% commission, right? That's the industry standard. So if that means on $1 million, they're getting 10%, you're going to pay them $100,000. Okay. So your expenses here are going to be $100,000, which means your gross profit, okay, is going to be $150,000. Now, of course, like I said, this is gross profit, so you're still gonna have to pay like a couple $1,000 a month for your CRM or your calling credits or the Zoom accounts, etc. Your G Suite, your Slack workspace, right? All these things. But really, that's a couple $1,000 a month once you start scaling up. When you start your sales agency, you're not going to have really any of those expenses because you're just in the early stages. You don't really have or need those softwares or expenses. So you're walking away with $150,000 in this case. Okay. But here's the catch, guys. And now this is what I need people to understand. The responsibilities are very, very different than the responsibilities of just being a closer. Okay. Like the responsibilities are very different. Let me move this over here so we have a bit more space. So first of all, like a closer just shows up, right? They just show up and once their calls are done, they leave, right? As a sales agency, you're not doing that, right? So since you're positioning yourself as a sales agency, this means you're taking over everything related to the sales side of the business. Okay. You want the client to never have to think about anything related to their sales. Okay. So what does this mean? Well, this means sourcing closers. Okay. This means interviewing them. Okay, right. So now you're taking over the like HR department, which maybe the client would previously have had, or that they'll need to have if they want to like build out an actual sales team. You'll need to do that because it's related to sales, right? You're figuring out which salespeople do you want to bring on. Okay, so hiring is a big part of it, right? And then you have like onboarding, right? So onboarding this talent, okay? Okay. Then you're gonna have to do things like training your talent, right? So training your closers, getting them familiar with the offer, things like that. Now, what else, right? CRM setup, right? This is related to sales once again. You want to set up the CRM in the most optimized way so that you close the most leads, right? This might mean follow up and no-show sequences, right? It's funny, like if you go to our agency site at PhoneSales.com, you'll see like we literally do everything for clients in terms of the deliverables. But it's funny, one of our competitors, I was watching their VSL, and it was like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It was like, they're like, we'll take over your entire sales operation. The only two things we won't do is handle payroll, which means paying the closers, and go in your CRM and push the buttons. They're like, we don't push the buttons in your CRM. And I was like, that's literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard because you're saying you're a sales agency, but you're not gonna like set up the CRM in the way which like what do you mean? Like how does that even work? Like you're a sales agency saying you're gonna take over the entire sales operation, but you expect your clients to like set up the CRM and like figure out what the best way to do that is. And like it was just like the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you literally do everything. So that also means payroll, right? You absolutely want to handle payroll. This is such a simple thing to do. I mean, it gets more complicated as you scale, but this is such like like simple thing to do. It's just like pay the salespeople. Do not let your client pay your salespeople, because what you need to understand is as a sales agency, you are the middleman. Your main leverage, other than your deliverables, your main point of leverage is the fact that you're the person between the client and the closers. The mistake almost everybody makes is they allow their closers to communicate directly with the client. And this is why so many people have been sales managers or fractional CSOs, right? Or growth operators for like 5 to 7% commission. They build everything, they bring the people, they scale it up, and then they get fired 3 to 4 months later. Why? Not because they did a bad job, but because they're no longer needed. The client doesn't need them anymore. The value is gone. It's extremely difficult to keep that showing the value, especially when your client has direct access to your closers. In their head, they're like, well, wait, if I just hire them directly, I'm gonna literally be saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Why would I not do that? You know? So you absolutely want to do the payroll. Like that's your biggest leverage point. That's by far your biggest leverage point. Okay. Now, what are other things that you're gonna have to be doing? Well, call reviews, right? Offer optimization, right? So like looking at the offer, figuring out, okay, how do we make this better? What can we include? How can we increase the perceived value without increasing the actual cost, like for the business owner? How can we increase the AOV, right? How can we increase AOV? Okay. You're going to have to gather things like sales assets, right? Like what are your salespeople going to need, right? Well, they're going to need, testimonials, right? They're going to need, you're going to have to develop a sales presentation or a sales script. Personally, we like to use sales presentations because our close rates are just way higher. We figured out a way to build sales presentations where our close rates can reach up to 40-45% consistently across multiple closers. So we really like to build sales presentations. We have a very unique way of doing them. Yeah, and so yeah, what other sales assets are your salespeople gonna need, right? So that's up to you to put together all those things and get all those things from your client, right? That's up to you. Another thing that we do for clients is, well, I mentioned it here, but we also collect testimonials. So we'll actually reach out to their customers and get testimonials from them. We'll do that for the client because the faster we can do that, the better our close rate is going to be because the more proof we have. So we'll even do things like that for our client, which many other sales agency wouldn't. So it's like really we're treating our clients. It's really like a partnership. Okay, it's really like a partnership. Um, the thing is, they're not giving us any equity. It's like we like to come on as partners, but they're not giving us equity, right, in their business. What they are giving us is a nice 20 to 35% commission. And I hope you guys can now start to see why it makes sense. Like if we look at the responsibilities of the closer for 10%, and if I look at the responsibilities here under the sales agency, you can see that this is a lot. This is a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work, and it's a lot more thorough and in depth, and it's A to Z. Another thing that a sales agency is going to do is consult on the marketing, okay? Because your role is to do everything you can to get the highest close rates and the highest AOVs for your client, right? And one of the ways you do that is by consulting on the marketing. So giving them advice on things to change. And maybe you're not a marketer and maybe you don't have that experience yet, but the longer that you run your agency and the more offers you work with, you're going to see like what kind of marketing works and what doesn't. What are some tweaks that make the marketing better? Like what are some tweaks that increase the quality of the leads, for example? What are things that increase the show rates, right? That's another big thing. Like improving show rates is also like a marketing thing, but it's also a sales agency thing because there's a lot of things you can do, right? For example, also like when I talk about consult on marketing, it's like making changes to the funnel, right? Making changes to the funnel. Like maybe you want to update the thank you page to say something different. Maybe you want to update the ads to like have a different angle or targeting, right? So as a sales agency, you're gonna want to like give suggestions to your client so that you can improve the quality of the leads, so that you can improve things like the show rates and everything like that. Okay. So this is just like just to give you guys an idea of like the responsibilities. And if I had to summarize it, it's like literally how you want to think of it is everything A to Z. Okay, this is the main thing. You want to do everything A to Z so your client never has to worry about anything related to their sales. And if you do that, then you can charge your client 20 to 35% commission. Okay? That's how and that's why you can charge that much. Now, if you guys want to get even more insights into the numbers and stuff, we actually have a free calculator that you can use. I'll link it down in the description of this video. I recommend you go on this calculator and you play around with the numbers because in this calculator, it's very detailed and it lets you adjust things like the number of clients you have, the show rates, the close rates, number of calls on the calendar, et cetera, so that you can actually create realistic projections of how much money you can actually earn with your sales agency. And yeah, that's a very helpful calculator, which I'm going to link in the description. Now, the other thing I also want to mention real quickly here is that when it comes to running a sales agency, people think that they need like a lot of clients, right? They think maybe they've ran a marketing agency in the past and they think, oh yeah, like to scale my agency, I need to like figure out a way to get like a lot of clients. And that could not be further from the truth. That is the absolute worst thing you could do, and that is exactly what you do not want to do. Okay, so unlike a traditional, let's say, marketing agency or AI agencies or whatever kind of agency, their business model is literally built on getting as many clients as possible. Okay, because the more clients they get, the more revenue and profit they make. And the thing is, with traditional agencies, they have a lot of churn. So like clients will stick only like a few months, and then they'll cancel their monthly retainer, and then they'll leave. And so traditional marketing agencies and other kinds of agencies are always in this loop where they have to get more customers than they lost in that month. So it's a constant loop like this. And the beauty of running a sales agency is that you're not playing that game. Okay, you're not playing that game. The game you're playing is finding clients who have the potential to scale to $1 million per month. Okay, that's the game that you're playing. And really, to do that, you only need, well, one client. With one client, you can get to $1 million per month in revenue. We've done this countless times. Or, for example, you could have two clients doing $500,000 per month each. Okay. And so what that means is, just to put that in perspective, if you just have one or two clients, and if we look at the revenue, expenses, and profit here, right, that means that you are making $150,000 per month with just one or two clients, because the amount you make isn't connected to how many clients you get. That's the key difference with this business model. It's related to the revenue that you do for your clients. So you could have one client doing $5 million a month, and you will literally make like 25% would be like $1 million a month. You pay your team $500K, you're walking away with $500,000 in pure profit if you're charging 20%. And so that's the difference, and that's what people don't understand. So you're not looking for a lot of clients, you're looking for a couple clients that have that potential to scale to $1 million per month. And if you're wondering, well, what kind of clients have that potential? Well, that's a whole other topic. I'm not going to go over that in this video, maybe in another video, but that's the main point. And so really, you need one client, two clients for the start. And then once you have those accounts scaled up, which is going to take you a few months, then you can look at bringing on client number 3 and client number 4, etc. And just with 3 to 5 clients, you can literally be making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. Okay. And the beauty about this thing, like this whole ecosystem, is that you have full ownership of absolutely everything. The salespeople, they work for your company. The sales presentations, it all belongs to you. Like you have full control. Your client has no contact points with any of your salespeople. They only have a contact point with you, right? So you have full control. So if your client is doing $1 million a month, like if your sales team is doing $1 million a month for your client, and they decide to fire you, right? That means that they are letting go of $1 million a month in revenue. And in order for someone to do that, they have to have an extremely good reason to do that, because people like money. And when you're responsible for driving 500K, even 200K per month, 500K, $1 million a month to their business, it's going to be very difficult for them to fire you or to let you go. Okay, and that's why the retention rate with clients as a sales agency, like years, right? If you get the right client, you're looking at years, because why would they walk away from that, right? There are times where you will lose clients or you will have to let go of clients. That's more likely the case. That's what we've seen. We've had to let go of clients because if they're not ready for like scaling, like for example, if you start closing a lot of deals from them and their customer support and their systems start to break, then that's a problem. And if they don't put effort and attention into fixing that, well, you can't keep closing clients if the back end stuff is broken and clients are having a bad experience. So we've had to let go of clients who were doing over $1 million per month, which means we were making over 6 figures per month in profit, but we still fired those clients and walked away because things were just not going well on the back end. And I don't care how much money I can make. Like if things aren't going bad, I'm not going to sell snake oil. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sell a shitty product, or maybe it was a great product at one time when we started, but then it turned out that it's not so good and that they can't keep up with all the influx of customers. Well, I'm going to walk away from that. And I highly suggest you do the same. Now, with that being said, most of the times the clients are eager to fix their systems and continue growing. But like I said, it has happened a few times where that's been the case. So I hope that answered the question of how much you can make. I'm going to talk about how hard, easy is it, and is it worth the risk. But before I do that, I just want to let you guys know if you want to start your sales agency, we have a program where we'll pretty much help you build your sales agency A to Z. Um, I'll put the link in the description if you want to find out a bit more about it. You can book a call with us if that's something that you're interested in doing. Um, so now let's answer the question going back to this. How hard or easy is it, and is it worth the risk? So how hard or easy is it really depends on the starting point, right? So if you're a closer and you've been a closer for at least like 2 years, then your starting point is much higher and than someone who's only been closing a few months. And to be honest, if you've only been closing less than a year, like I don't think you should start a sales agency. It's something you can have in your view for somewhere down the road, but I would say right now it's too early for you to be starting an agency. You want to have at least 1 to 2 years of closing experience, or if you're if you've ran an agency in the past, that would also make you a great candidate to actually start a sales agency. And like how hard or easy is it really depends on your starting point, like I said, and also like what resources you have access to, right? So when we started, we didn't have access to any resources. We had our experience of business over the past 5 years before starting PhoneSales.com. So we had our experience, but we had no other resources we could tap into. So when we hit bottlenecks, like how do we actually get better clients? How do we actually hire great closers at scale, right? How do we actually create systems that can support lots and lots of closers as we scale? Like we didn't have any of that. So we had to figure out how to build those things over the last 5 years of running PhoneSales.com, right? But for example, the students that join our program, we've already figured all of these things out, you know? So like, for example, if you joined our program, we would literally show you everything that you need, and we'd show you what you need in order if you want to run your sales agency successfully. Depending on which um, package you go with, we have a higher ticket package, a more expensive package where we actually work with you one-on-one, and we even give you clients in that package, and we give you all of the softwares we've built, all of the hiring databases, so you can literally hire closers in like seconds. All the interviews are already done, things like that. So we give you all these things, which obviously then makes it a lot easier for you to scale and grow, and you're going to have support and know exactly what you need to do and how to do it, right? So it really depends. I'm not going to sit here and say that you need to join our program, right? You can still do this on your own, but like without even with no doubt, it's going to make it a lot more difficult, right? You're going to make a lot more mistakes. We've made a lot of mistakes. You're definitely going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to lose clients because you're going to screw things up. And it's going to take you a lot longer to actually scale because you'll have to build everything from scratch and you won't even know what's the best way to build it. So can you do it on your own? Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. But like I said, it's going to be a lot harder. And if you have the resources available to you and you have a program you can follow and it's structured step by step, like literally everything A to Z on how to actually launch and grow your sales agency, which is what our program does, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Okay. So I hope that answers the question of how hard or easy is it. And once again, like if you've been a closer for at least 1 to 2 years, or you've previously ran a marketing agency or some sort of agency, it'll be a lot easier for you to start a sales agency compared to someone who doesn't have the experience that you do. Okay, so that's why I always tell people, like if you want the next step up, like if you want if you want that time freedom to like not have to be tying your income to like how many Zoom calls you take, then you should start a sales agency. If you like the idea of having other people work and do the sales calls underneath you while you collect half of the commission for yourself, and you didn't even take the sales calls, and you're getting half the commission from all these different salespeople, then you should start a sales agency, you know? But for example, if you don't like the responsibilities I went over, like if you don't like the idea of having to manage payroll and pay people, or if you don't like the idea of having to, train closers, right? Or give them like feedback on their calls or manage closers, right? That's also part of it. Then then a sales agency probably isn't for you. If you don't want to be doing those things. Maybe you can find a business partner who likes doing those things, and maybe you can see what your strengths and weaknesses are. But you have to ask yourself and be honest, like, do you want the extra responsibility? Some people don't. Some people would rather just be a closer for the next however many years, and they're cool with that. And if that's you, that's fine. Then that's just stick to that, you know? But let's be realistic, like you're probably not going to consistently make over 20K a month. With the sales agency, you can realistically make over 6 figures per month in profit, right? We're not the only ones that have done this. We've brought on partners. We've taught this to other people. Like if you go on our YouTube channel, you can see interviews with some of our partners. I can link them in the description. Like for example, Melik, he came on. We helped him launch his sales agency with us, and he was able to get to doing over $240,000 per month profit months with his sales agency. 240K. We had people like Julian. Once again, I'll put his link in interview in the description. He got up to doing over $100,000 per month in profit with his sales agency, right? We've had people like Jack. We've had people like Omar. All their interviews are on our YouTube channel, and you guys can check those out. And like I said, I'll link them down below. And the last thing now I want to just quickly go over is it worth the risk? Okay. And what I want to say is that you don't have to go balls to the walls full time right away, right? Because if you're a closer right now, or if you have another source of income and you want to do this, like you don't have to walk away from everything you have right now in order to do this. Like you can start your sales agency with just a couple hours per day, and that's what a lot of people do, is like they're already like closing, but they want to start their agency. But before they get their first clients, like they're unsure how long it's going to take. And so they want to keep making some money. So that's why they keep closing while they build their sales agency. And the beautiful thing about it, guys, is when you close a client for 25% commission, you can do the sales calls yourself. And we actually recommend that for two reasons. Number one, you are now going to be making way more commission, right? And it's pure profit because you don't have any expenses. It's not like you have a closer making the sale and you got to pay him 10%. You're keeping the full 25% when you land your first client. Okay, so that's reason number one. And reason number two is you want to. We recommend you, at least for the start, being the first closer on the account with your client, so that you can figure out also like how do you actually sell this, what's the best way to sell this and position the offer, and also to set the bar for the other closers that you're going to be bringing on and show them that, hey guys, look, this is what I was able to do. It's possible. Here are the sales calls. Here's the proof. Now I want you guys to do this, and that really shows that you are a leader, and it establishes yourself as the leader in your company. And that's why we recommend doing this, is for both of these two reasons. It's like, one, you want to figure out how to actually sell this and show your closers that this isn't like a brand new offer, like that it's actually been proven that it's sellable. And reason number two, you walk away with 25% commission, okay? And you have no expenses on it. So yeah, guys, I hope that this video gave you a lot of insight into starting a sales agency and answered a lot of questions. Getting clients is really, really easy with this business model because everybody, like almost everybody, wants more sales, and almost everybody isn't happy with how their sales teams are performing. Like almost every company. Right? Like almost every company either has a sales team where they feel like it's going okay, like they're making sales, but are they making as many sales as they should be? Like many companies, they have close rates of like 10, 15, 20%. And it's like, okay, but if you can take their close rate to 25% or 30%, and if you can increase their average order value from, let's say, like $5,000 to $8,000, like that is a huge difference. That can literally mean hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, in extra revenue for their business. And that's why it's really easy to get clients, because Everybody wants to improve their sales. Everybody wants to make more sales. And they're just unsure how to do it. They're looking for what's the best way to do it. And that's why, like with our company, we always have a bunch of clients coming to us asking us, hey, can you guys work with me? Do you have space? Can you take me on as a client? And we have to wait list all of them, or we just refer them out because we don't have that capacity. And that's part of the reason why we actually created our program. This is why we're technically creating more competition for ourselves. Like one of the things people ask is like if you guys are doing so good with your sales agency, why are you selling this program for like a few $1,000? Like why are you doing that? And then like it doesn't seem like a lot of money, A, and then B, it's like you are creating more competition. But what people don't understand is that there's almost no competition to begin with. I know of about 7 sales agencies in the world right now. I know that there's hundreds of thousands of online high ticket businesses, but I only know of about 7 relevant high ticket sales agencies in the space. So clients don't really have a lot of options to choose from. And we also, like, the reason we launched our program is so that we can teach more people how to run this business model. And then for the people that do exceptionally well in our program, we actually give them clients. So instead of us having to turn away clients, we can take the best students in our program, and especially the students that are working with myself and my co-founder one-on-one, getting coaching from us, those are going to be the best students. And so we can then connect our students with the clients that we have. So we literally give you clients and boom, now you have a sales agency, you have clients. We'll give you all the infrastructure you'll need to scale your sales agency, to hire people, the systems, the software, the tracking, everything like that. And we then also can get a small cut of that on the back end, right? We get a small kickback. So that's why we started this program. It's like, yeah, we're creating more competition technically, but like I need more competition because right now I'm just turning away like dozens of clients every single month, you know? So yeah, guys, I hope that gives you some context. If you want our help to start your sales agency, go to the link in the description. We can help you out, get started. We have a program, it costs a couple $1,000 a month, up to $50,000, depending on which package you want to move forward with. But the good thing is you can get started for just a few $1,000. It's a one-time fee. You get access to our full program, everything like that. And if you still think it's too early for you, like if you're curious about this business model, but you don't want to pull the trigger on something like that yet, we also do have our blueprint, which is an $11. It's $11, and it will give you the basics on how to actually launch your sales agency, how to build your website, how to get your first client. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave that also in the description. It's $11, and it will give you at least some starting point and a little bit more information on starting a high ticket sales agency. So guys, that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. My name is Yovan, CEO of PhoneSales, and I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.